On March 20th, 1995, Tokyo began its usual Monday morning rush, with commuters packed into subway trains heading to work and school. Amid the typical chaos of the city's rush hour, 5 individuals boarded different trains, blending into the sea of busy travelers. Each of them carried an umbrella and what appeared to be bundles of newspapers, nothing that would draw attention in the bustling subway system. Unbeknownst to the passengers around them, these 5 strangers were about to carry out one of the most infamous bioterrorist attacks in history. Without anyone noticing, the men carefully dropped their bundles onto the floor of the subway cars and used their umbrellas to puncture the packages. Then, they quickly exited the trains at the next stations. At first, no one realized anything was wrong. It seemed like just another morning commute, until it wasn't. Passengers began coughing. Some wiped their noses only to find blood on their hands. Others were overcome with nausea and collapsed to the ground, vomiting and convulsing. As the poison spread through the crowded subway cars, people gasped for air, desperately trying to understand what was happening. Soon, those who tried to help also became victims, displaying the same terrifying symptoms. Chaos spread through Tokyo, and by the time the attack was over, 12 people were dead and thousands were injured. The poison responsible for this horrific scene was sarin gas, a highly toxic nerve agent. The attack was orchestrated by Aum Shinrikyo, a doomsday cult that had evolved from a seemingly harmless spiritual movement into a group capable of bioterrorism. The story of Aum Shinrikyo and its leader Shoko Asahara would shock the world. Aum Shinrikyo, from yoga class to cult. Japan has seen its share of cults. In the 1960s, the Korean Unification Church, also known as the Moonies, gained a foothold in the country. A decade later, Ruho Okawa founded the Institute for Research in Human Happiness, a group some described as a cult. Yet, none of these groups reached the same level of infamy as Aum Shinrikyo. Aum Shinrikyo was founded by Shoko Asahara, born Chizuo Matsumoto, in 1987. Asahara's journey to spiritual leadership was far from conventional. Born into a poor family of tatami mat makers in Japan's Kumamoto Prefecture, he suffered from partial blindness, a condition that led his family to send him to a school for the blind at a young age. There, Asahara developed a reputation as a bully, extorting money from his classmates. After leaving school, Asahara opened an acupuncture and Chinese medicine business, but in 1981 he was convicted of practicing pharmacy without a license. His business troubles didn't deter him. Instead, Asahara turned his focus toward religion, forming Aum Shinrikyo. The movement started modestly, as a yoga and meditation class held in Asahara's one-bedroom apartment. However, by 1989, it had grown into a full-fledged religious organization, attracting followers with promises of spiritual enlightenment and supernatural abilities. Aum's followers included some of Japan's brightest minds, scientists, doctors, engineers, and computer programmers. Many were drawn to the group by claims that its members had achieved extrasensory perception, ESP, and telepathic abilities. As the group expanded, Asahara's beliefs took a darker turn, fueled by an obsession with apocalyptic prophecies. The cult's descent into bioterrorism. Asahara began to see himself as a prophet, claiming that the world was on the brink of an apocalyptic disaster. He believed that Aum Shinrikyo was humanity's only hope for salvation. His followers, many of whom were highly educated, helped to validate his theories. Scientists within the group proposed experiments to study Asahara's brainwaves and suggested the development of powerful weapons, including chemical and biological agents. Among these followers was Hideo Mirai, a former employee at Kobe Steel, who had joined Aum after reading about psychic powers in one of the cult's publications. Mirai became a key figure in Aum's increasingly dangerous experiments, which aimed to bring about the apocalyptic future Asahara had predicted. Mirai and other scientists within the cult began to experiment with sarin gas, which they believed would help fulfill their leader's vision of a purified world. In 1994, Aum tested sarin gas on a smaller scale, releasing it in Matsumoto, a city in central Japan. 8 people died, and hundreds were injured. However, authorities were slow to connect the attack to Aum Shinrikyo, giving the cult time to plan a larger, more devastating strike. The Tokyo subway attack. On that fateful day in March 1995, Aum Shinrikyo carried out its deadliest plot. The 5 members responsible for releasing sarin gas into the Tokyo subway system had meticulously planned the attack. Each punctured bag released the gas into the air, and within minutes, passengers began to feel its lethal effects. Panic quickly spread as victims collapsed in the trains and on subway platforms. Emergency services were overwhelmed by the sheer number of people affected. Sarin is a fast-acting nerve agent that disrupts the body's ability to control vital functions, leading to asphyxiation, convulsions, and death. The chaos that unfolded in the wake of the attack was unprecedented. In the end, 12 people lost their lives, and more than 5,000 others were injured. The Tokyo subway attack remains one of the worst acts of domestic terrorism in Japan's history. The aftermath and Aum's legacy. The Tokyo sarin attack shocked the world and led to a massive investigation. Law enforcement swiftly identified Aum Shinrikyo as the group responsible for the atrocity. Shoko Asahara and many of his top followers were arrested, and Aum's operations were dismantled. In the years that followed, Asahara was convicted of multiple crimes, including murder, and sentenced to death. The attack raised important questions about the power of charismatic leaders and the dangers posed by extremist cults. Aum Shinrikyo's legacy continues to be a cautionary tale, reminding the world of the devastating potential of bioterrorism and the allure of apocalyptic ideologies. Today, Aum Shinrikyo still exists, though under different names and with a significantly diminished following. However, the scars left by the Tokyo subway attack are still felt across Japan, a stark reminder of the tragedy that unfolded in 1995 and the deadly consequences of blind devotion to a charismatic leader.